Hi, this is Tony Harris Taylor with another episode of the Drastic Results with Tony Harris Taylor Show. And today's guest is one of my favorite clients. I know y'all are thinking Tony says that about all her clients, but no, Val is one of my favorite clients. And one of the reasons she is because she shows up everywhere, regardless of what's going on in life, whatever the middle of her storm is, she is always there. And because of that, her business has reaped the benefits. So I'm going to introduce you to Mrs. Val Vick of Val Vick Copywriting. Welcome, Val.
Hi, Tony. Thank you for having me. So glad to be here.
Glad you are here as well. So tell us in your own words who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Val Vick, and I magnify the differences of business owners so they can stand out from their competitors. We do that by using marketing, content, and copy, and all of their digital and hard deliverables, whether it's their website or their newsletter, their email campaigns. We help them stand out.
I love that. And I love how you said magnify so they can attract their ideal clients. And the written word is part of showing up. And Val is amazing. She is actually my copywriter and helps me with my newsletters and my website content as well. So thank you, Val. So Val, you've been through lots of transitions. In fact, Val and I met networking, I want to say 2008, 2009. And she was in my very first book in 2012. And so she's been through several iterations of her entrepreneurship journey. So tell us, Val, if you want, whatever part of your story you want to tell, and then how did you land here as a copywriter?
Well, thank you, Tony. I am a licensed engineer, a certified project manager, and I worked in corporate America. I started working in corporate America back in the late 70s. And so I was working, for first for Exxon, but then for a consulting firm. But I left the consulting firm when our daughter turned 13 years old. We agreed for her teen years, I'd be a stay-at-home mom. And so I became the soccer mom, but I also became an entrepreneur. I got a real estate license. I started a travel business. I had a couple businesses. Oh, girl, I was that serial entrepreneur. But I realized very quickly that leaving corporate America, it's a whole different ball game, and nobody knows you. You're invisible. And networking, I soon learned networking was important or critical, really, to becoming visible. That was the first step in visibility. And so that's where I met you, that first journey there. So I ended up focusing on the travel business. I did the real estate because my mom owns, commercial property. And so I kept that, and I still have my license. But the travel business was the one that I just loved to death. In fact, I even worked with your daughter when she kind of dabbled in travel. And but I kept going. So from like 2008 through now, but then the pandemic happened and all travel stopped. It was very, people talk about how the pandemic affected people, but I can tell you travel was the one area that everybody felt. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. And so I only get paid when people travel. So that meant no income. Yeah. And I had to pivot. So I circled back to something that I knew how to do, which was to write and write for sales and marketing, the purpose of sales and marketing. And that's where copywriting comes in. And that is the copyright with the W-R-I-T, not R-I-G-H-T. Some people say, oh, I have a book, I want to get copyrighted. I'm like, well, that's not the copyright I do. But let me help you find someone. So mine is all about helping you get your marketing messages out there so that you can attract retain, and convert your ideal customer.
And we've learned through our coaching that 2 to 3% of people are ready to purchase from you the day they meet you. And it's probably not even that. So it's important, it's imperative that you stay in front of those people so that when they are ready, you're right there. And that's what Val does, is helps you to stay connected to those prospects so that when they're ready, you're still in front of them. So Val, what made you start networking?
I think that what made me start was, first of all, I got an invitation to join someone at a networking event. And because, let's be honest, even in corporate America, you're networking all of the time, either inside the company or outside. And I always did have a role in business development in my my consulting, the company I worked for. So I still was networking, but I was networking with that corporate name behind me. And so I would go into conferences and I would speak at conferences. I was being published and speaking at technical conferences as an engineer. But we would have the mixers and the socials. So I was networking, but I was networking for the company. Networking for myself was very different. And that, I think, is what I didn't really know about and understand. So I knew about the concept, but it was different when it was about, for me. So my first invitation was to, and I can't remember, it was like a women's.
Is it where we met?
Yes. And that organization, the lady who founded it was out of New Orleans or Louisiana, I think. But I remember it was a women's group, and it just left my mind. But anyway, I was invited to
PWI, I want to say Powerful Women International.
Yes, that was it. That was it. And I was invited to one of those meetings, and that was my first time going to a networking meeting representing myself, networking for myself. And I could see that it could make a difference, getting to talk to people and just letting them know you're here. And because nobody knows you exist unless you're out there.
So when it comes to networking, there are so many emotions. Some people love it, yay, and some people hate it. And I know where you are on the scale now, but where were you when you first started networking? What were your emotions around it?
Well, you say where I am now, but I'm not sure you do, Tony. I am really, truly one of those outgoing introverts. Okay, I can turn it on, but if you ask me, do you want to go out and network? I'll be like, no, I'd rather stay home and read my Kindle or watch my Hallmark movie and be by myself and maybe let my husband come and say hi, I really like being by myself. I don't really want to go out there. So I understand the importance of networking. And when I turn on, I can turn on. I mean, I'm one of the best at turning on, so I can show up and I can be up, but I don't really like it. I don't really want to, but it's important. It's critical. I cannot have a successful business without it. So I'm about the money now. Let's not get it twisted. So yes, I love networking, but I don't.
You've learned to love it.
I've learned to love it.
So speak to the introverts then. What do you do to turn it on to make it happen even when you don't feel like it?
And I think that, it's a mindset and it's mental. I learned to be outgoing because if you knew me as a child, being 11 years old, being 5'11", wearing a size 11 shoe, wearing glasses with acne and braces, I wasn't trying to be out there visible. I was very visible because I couldn't help it, but I was very shy, very in, what's that word where you're insecure about my physical, appearance. And, at 11 years old, when you're taller than most of the boys still even, it was just like, it was a hard time. And so in my teen years, I started coming out a little more and I learned how to be outgoing. I think people who are shy, it's a learned behavior that there hasn't been a reason to shift or change. I got positive reinforcement for being outgoing, so I worked on it. And so I think I would tell people who are introverts like me, but they're more on the shy side, you got to work with that mental thing and recognize it's something that caused you to be fearful, to be and be shy, and you've got to work on it. And it's really a practice. So here's what I would suggest is if you aren't naturally outgoing, and I say natural, I think outgoing is learned. If you haven't learned how to be outgoing, I think that you should go into a networking situation realizing that really most people want you to be successful. Most people want to get to know you. And most people don't want you to be anybody you're not. So go ahead and go in and be a little, it's okay to be, a little shy, a little hesitant, but take that first step and say, hi, I'm Val. What's your name? And then if you can't think of anything else to say, how can I help you?
That's it. There you go. So you got to show up regardless. And here's the thing about networking. Everybody's there for the same reason, to help each other. Some people are there to see what they can get for themselves, but most people have a helping posture. And there are a lot of other people just like you who are uncomfortable, shy, don't know what they're saying, afraid to make a mistake, and they show up anyway. So thank you for those words of wisdom. That was awesome. All right. So virtual networking since the pandemic has become more popular. And I know that you've built your business pretty much since the pandemic, strictly on virtual networking for a long time. So what tips would you give someone on virtual networking?
Well, I think similar to in-person networking, you need to show up. So, and that means turning your camera on. I see a lot of people will go to a virtual event and leave their camera off. Their name shows up, but they're not visible. And people aren't as receptive or interested in talking to a blank screen with, a printed name. So that's the first step. Show up and turn your camera on. Then when you are on camera, don't get distracted with all these other things. So put the phone away. Don't let the kids and the dog, come in and hang out with you. I mean, there are emergencies.
The cat walking across the stupid screen drives you crazy.
Some people think it's cute, but really, it's only cute for like 5 seconds. So remove distractions, and just like in physical in-person networking, be present and really engage. One of my pet peeves are the people who kind of treat networking like speed dating. They're like trying to see how many people they can meet, and so they're very rushing through it. They're like not, really listening to you. It's kind of very superficial. They're like seeing almost like how many cards can I collect, where you miss the whole point. Without that engagement, there's no connection.
Absolutely.
And that is, so do the same thing with virtual. Actually give people your attention and really listen. Be sincere about it. I mean, because if you're really not going to be sincere, you really should just not join in.
Okay. So you told us that your driving force to becoming an entrepreneur was you wanted to be home when in her most important years, her teenage years with Shannon.
Right.
Shout out to Shannon. But now you could get a job, right? You could. I mean, Harvey, he does well. He's a geologist and he's good. So what's your key driving force to staying an entrepreneur?
You're right. And I have, said, why do I still do this? Because
it's hard.
At my age, and which, I'm 60s, new 30, so let's not be, confused about that. But I could stop. I prepared for retirement. Now I am waiting for the 65 Medicare mama thing, but meanwhile, my driver is still our daughter. She's 26. She helps me with the business, but she's an actor. And if you're not familiar with that business, it's tough. You have to, I didn't even know you had to have an agent to even get auditions for commercials and certain things. It's like, what? And she was one of those kids where she wanted to be an actor since she was like 2 years old. I mean, I'm not even kidding. It was like really early. She always was an entertainer. And, but we asked her to please wait and not ask us to do this childhood active journey thing, or even in her teen years. We said, and I told her, we promised, if you wait, follow this path, go to college, do these things, we will help you for a certain number of years to break in. And that's what I'm still doing. We support her. And she works with me, so she has flexibility for her auditions and that kind of thing. But I'm still doing this because of my love for my daughter.
I love that. And you guys now are a great team in your business while she is living her dream. So thank you for staying an entrepreneur and having a big why. So now tell me about a time you didn't want to show up. You pushed through and you're glad you did.
Well, I have a recent example of that. I mean, I think every time I show up, the same thing happens. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that. Because sometimes, we'll assume the group that we're going to may not be a good match because, it's not obvious that the connections are going to be the right ones. We think they're going to be the right ones because we assume a lot, that we really know that we know who's right and who's not. We don't. Right. It's really, if you think about it, it's not about even that person sometimes. It's about who that person knows. And even not who they know, but who they know. That 6 degrees of separation thing, right? But I recently went to an event you invited me to, Tony. It was at that conference center down like near off of Beltway 8 and 10. Yeah, City Center. It was a luncheon, and in my mind, luncheons aren't necessarily good networking places because you have speakers, you're sitting there. It's like, how do you really make connections at an event like that? That's my mindset, right? Well, I went to that luncheon. I sat next to a lady because you made sure we didn't sit next to each other. You said, make sure you spread out. So I didn't sit with any, other people. And I met a lady. I sat next to her. And then we talked, exchanged information. And then later I met another lady that, I connected with. And do you know, both of those people are now clients? And I did not. And the other reason I didn't want to go was because I really did not want to have to put on clothes and shoes and come out because, my go-to is sweatpants and socks
Do you know how many times that stops people from showing up? They just, especially women, they don't want to put themselves together. So they're like, forget about it. But look at
Right.
you showed up, you got 2 clients. Those clients will give you referrals. Networking is the one marketing prospecting strategy that snowballs when you know
Yes.
what to do. So, yay! Now, we all have challenges with networking. You just said one, just showing up, putting our hair on. Okay, you got pretty hair, you ain't got putting nothing on. Putting our hair on, combing our hair, showing up. But tell me what your main challenge is. I think I know, but
Oh, when I thought about the main challenge, and for me, is that first, commitment to show up and be up because I'm an introvert. It's tough. And if I actually have to, when I come back sometimes, depending on how long I've been, away, especially if it's in person and I'm surrounded by people, sometimes I have to come home and basically decompress. And, I don't want to talk to anybody for about a day, because it really is draining for me sometimes. But I think one of the challenges with me is the follow up. Sometimes when I've met so many people, making sure I not only try to schedule that first one-to-one follow up, but following up more after that. And so that's why I think the importance of the drip campaigns that we're talking about in coaching is important, because not everybody, will automatically become part of your community. So you got to keep at it a little bit more. So I think that's one of the things I'm learning I haven't been as effective with.
okay, so you shared a story about how you showed up when you didn't feel like it. But tell me about where networking's made a huge difference in your business.
I think your concept of viral networking is what's made the difference in the business, because the person you meet, I've had several situations where the person I met wasn't the person that ended up becoming an integral part of my community or becoming a client. So it was like, again, the person I met knew somebody who knew somebody. And so I think that's been the key networking benefit for my business growth.
Okay, very good. Excellent. All right. So social media is a form of networking. In fact, social media got us back here. So tell me how social media has helped you to grow your business.
Well, your example when you got on the live and you said, and I commented, you said, let's catch up. That was huge. And I model what you do as much as possible. So I've started doing that. Let's catch up when somebody comments. Now I will admit that I get the most reactions on my posting when I'm talking about my travels, because people know me as the travel person. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I want to be like you when I grow up, or they'll reach out to me. But I have had several people say, hey, I see you're doing something else also. And so I have had people from the social media, the travel social media posts, because I have also posted about this business, or when I'm sharing, something you're doing, they'll say, I see you're doing this. And I'm like, yeah, let's talk. Let's catch up. And so that's how that catch up comes up.
And travel's opening back up.
Yes,
you're not giving that up. So if you are traveling, you have a group, a family, you want to have planned, Val is still in business for travel now that things are opening back up. And she She tries before you buy. So that means that she goes and scouts for you. She knows what you should be doing. And watch the Adventures of Val on her Facebook page. So I'm glad travel's opening back up as well for us and for our clients. So
Yes, yes.
so what mistakes have you seen entrepreneurs make when it comes to networking? And then what tip would you give? Because usually the mistake comes with the tip. Would you give
Right.
entrepreneurs?
Well, I touched on one of them, I think earlier, is that I think the mistake some make is they treat it like a way to get sales.
Mhm.
And networking is not about sales. It's about the connections.
Mhm.
And so don't go in with the expectation that you're going to make a sale or find somebody who's ready to buy from you, because that's not what it's for. It's for meeting new people to make new connections and develop new relationships, because business will flow from a string of relationships. Okay, so that would be the mistake. And so the tip from that is go in knowing that your only reason to go network is to meet people and sincerely want to engage and find out, what they need and how you can help, so that you all can figure out how you can help each other.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I saw a post recently and it made me pause. The post said, stop booking coffee dates and start booking sales calls. And it made me pause because I'm ultimately about getting sales. And sometimes, let's be transparent, the one-to-one coffee date can feel like wasting time.
And I've been told that by a sales coach person also, and I had to disagree. And, basically that's one of the reasons we didn't continue to work together, because I don't have that. I don't believe it. I believe that the sales conversation is going to show up with the right person at the right time. And part of your opportunity is not being afraid to have that conversation. The real opportunity is recognizing, okay, this is the right time with this person. Because until we know, I'm just going to be, like you say, keep it 100. You cannot sell to me if I don't know you like that. I mean, it's too many of you that do the same thing. If you were the only one that had this piece of bread, maybe you could sell it to me. But let's be honest, I know there are a billion people that got the same piece of bread, and I don't have to buy it from you. So don't come to me like that. So no, I do not agree with that either.
I could not, I mean, I really did pause. I really did think about it. And even though the method that I teach is a little bit slower, and I say a little bit, because once you coach and you know how to describe who you are and what you do, the person that you're having coffee with will recognize if they need you. And they'll say,
or they'll recognize that they know somebody who needs you. To me, that's even more important, because they will, if they don't need you now, they'll remember they need you. If you stay connected, engaged, they'll remember you, but they'll think, oh, I know somebody else. And they'll introduce you. And that's how the viral thing happens. And I'd rather have one coffee date that ends up being 6 connections than one sales call that may or may not go well, or end up in a sell, and that's it. Because that person, if they say no, they're probably going to be turned off, number one, and they aren't going to tell other people about you. And if they do, they're going to say, oh, don't bother her. All she cares about is the sale.
Absolutely. So excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. So what does it mean to show up?
put on some clothes, even if you're on Zoom, put on at least the top part and just get there. I mean, there's plenty of reasons you could say I can't do it. And really all it takes is, I got a headache. If you got a headache, drink some water. You're probably dehydrated anyway, but drink some water, take a pill and show up.
Absolutely. Yay. Just do it. And on that note, when you are on virtual, turn the camera on. Turn on the camera, dagnabbit.
Yes, that's
because you are not there if your camera is not on.
Right.
So you might as well not show up if you're not going to turn the camera on.
And and you can turn it off to go to the bathroom, or if you get interrupted. But but for the most part, keep it on.
Absolutely, and put the cat on the floor. All right. and then the be up, the show up, and then the be up is so important because there are things going on in our lives, and we could be really there are times, and when you're with family, you might be able to be a little bit, in your feelings or whatever. But for the most part, if you're going to show up, you need to be up and turn it on. And I'm not saying be fake. Don't be who you're not. My on is this. I'm sincerely so glad that I'm here. Yes.
But if your normal is, a little bit reserved, that's okay, because you need to be you need to be authentic. But even with being reserved, you need to be engaged.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think being up is.
Awesome. Okay. So what's your best strategy for following up?
Follow up. Okay. I think asking for the one-to-one is what I've been taught by you, and it works. And I tell people, even if it's only 15 minutes, we may not need the whole, if your time is that tight, then we can even just do an initial touch base in 15 minutes. But typically the 30-minute follow-up conversation is really a good, I think, first step. And you figure out then if there's somebody, we can introduce each other to, or we at least understand how to listen. That's the question I say. How would I recognize somebody who would be a good introduction for you? So I get them to describe that person or situation. And then the next step, if you don't have, you invite them to join your community some kind of way with a free gift, or, your drip campaign, your newsletter, I think is another step. I've actually had people also ask me for input. Hey, can you just, this is my situation. What do you think? Especially about buyer personas and messaging.
Sure.
And I get feedback. And then based on that, I say, hey, let's follow up on what you do with that. I'm curious to see what happens. And then I do also offer, if you need my help, I'd love to help you. So I heard, book the appointment while you're at the event. Yeah.
So, and you don't have to follow up if you do it that way. But the other thing is, and I'm going to plug you, is the second best way to follow up is having drip campaigns, having good content, so that people will stay connected to you. And when they're ready after the initial one-to-one, they will remember you. So,
yes.
And
yes.
Val, that's what she does. All right. So Val, I'm going to share an old image for the next question. And that is, describe how your networking has gone viral. And I know it's expanded from here.
Well, it continues to expand even from there. And some of these people are still I'm still doing business with some of these people. But this is so exciting to see a visual like this. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so cool. So yes, I still interact. I still do business with almost everybody on this list. It's interesting. George Scott, even one of his people I made is in NIA now, I guess, or one of his representatives from his business. And I made a referral to I think Danny, right? Johnny. I made a referral to Johnny, and I just talked to him last week, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, Val," he said, "I know there's some people that we need to introduce you to because they need the content," because we talked about nurturing clients, and so I expect to hear more from them. Oh my gosh, Tony, every person on there, I'm still in touch with just about everyone somehow. And I love that once I do a good job for them, they are very open and committed to sharing my name with other people.
Absolutely.
And I didn't even have everybody on there, but yeah.
Well, so we're going to update that for the conference.
Okay.
It's going to be a whole nother year of connections that
Yes.
have gone viral. But it's so nice to have that visual. And it's
Yes.
nice for you to be reminded there's still here that it keeps on giving. So very good. So what's your favorite quote around networking or connecting?
Networking works when you work it.
Hey, and I don't know if that's an existing quote or not. We need to Google it because you might need to brand that as your own. But it's true. Networking works when you work it. Okay. So what are your final thoughts you would offer to an entrepreneur who is hesitant to network?
My final thoughts and suggestion would be, even if you are afraid or uncomfortable, still do it, because like anything else, until you practice doing it, it won't ever become second nature or comfortable. And networking is learned. Nobody's born knowing how to do it well. So, learn. There's just learn and practice, and it's gonna happen. Gonna make a difference. It's gonna change your life.
And it's better to learn it with a community like Network in Action or the Drastic Results Coaching clients, because they will push you, they'll support you, they'll help you to grow as well.
Yeah.
Val, thank you so much. You offer so many nuggets of wisdom here. That's why I love you so much. And I just want to say thank you for being the type of client that I can help go viral as well. This is Tony Harris Taylor saying, take a drastic step today for a fantastic tomorrow. Talk to you soon. Bye.